In today's fast-paced and often turbulent world, the concept of masculinity finds itself at a crossroads. Cultural shifts involving gender roles and a growing departure from traditional values have cast shadows of confusion and contradiction over what it means to be a man. The Savage Gentleman addresses these modern dilemmas by redefining and reclaiming an understanding of masculinity through a biblical lens. This approach offers a timeless foundation and provides clarity and direction amidst the prevailing winds of change. I am your host, Pastor Benjamin Wilson, and this is the Savage Gentleman. In this series podcast, these episodes are entitled Navigating, or fall under the title Navigating Modern Masculinity Through a Biblical Lens. We explore what it means to be a man in today's rapidly changing world, guided by the timeless wisdom of Scripture. As society grapples with evolving gender roles and expectations, many men find themselves questioning how traditional notions of masculinity fit into the modern social fabric. This series addresses these complex challenges by drawing on the rich narratives and stories of biblical figures who exemplify strength, integrity, and resilience. Throughout this series, we will dive into the core principles of biblical masculinity, examining how virtues such as leadership, courage, and gentleness are portrayed in the Bible and how they can be authentically applied in contemporary contexts. We will explore the lives of men like Abraham, who demonstrated faith in the unknown, and even Moses, whose humility and leadership liberated his entire nation. By examining these ancient role models alongside modern dilemmas, this series offers a practical insights and guidance for men striving to navigate their personal and spiritual lives with both honor and conviction. I encourage you and welcome you in joining me as we uncover the relevance of the biblical teachings in modern society, providing men with a framework to reassess and redefine what it means to be strong, to be compassionate, and to be genuinely masculine in today's world. This journey is not just about rediscovering biblical manhood, but it's about empowering us to live out these principles in a way that enriches our lives and the communities we are part of. This particular episode we're calling Challenges to Biblical Masculinity in a Contemporary Culture. The fabric of masculinity is being stretched and tested by shifts in societal expectations and roles. The rise of gender equality movements, while promoting a much needed recognition of women's rights and contributions, has also inadvertently created a sense of displacement among some men. Traditional roles that once define masculinity, such as being the sole breadwinner and the stoic pillar of emotional restraint, are increasingly viewed as outdated and problematic. These shift changes and challenges, what they do to men is that they challenge men to redefine their own identity in ways that harmonize strength with sensitivity, leadership with partnership. The struggle to adapt to these norms without a clear model often leads many men to an identity crisis, manifesting as either an overemphasis on traditional masculinity to the detriment of emotional health, or an abandonment of all of these traits, leading to a lack of direction and purpose. The challenges we face in the current socio-cultural landscape are multifaceted and profound. As society evolves to embrace a broader spectrum of gender expressions, the archetypes that once provided a clear, if narrow, path to masculine identity are being reevaluated. This is a reevaluation that is not an outright rejection of traditional masculinity, but it is a call to expand its definition to include a broader range of attributes and behaviors. Men are encouraged to develop emotional intelligence, engage in open and vulnerable communication, and share responsibilities that were once strictly divided among gender lines. This is difficult for men. It's a progress. This progress enriches us, though, as men. It enriches our roles in families and in our communities, offering a more dynamic expression of strength that includes care and empathy. For many men, this has been foreign for far too long. And we have to change this. We must change this. We must progress. And while we listen to all of these things, as society bombards us with this, while all of it is progressive, these positive developments come with their own set of challenges. For many men, the absence of definitive roles results in uncertainty about where they fit in the ever-changing social fabric. The pressure to swiftly adjust to new expectations can be daunting, especially without widespread cultural narratives that endorse varied models of masculinity. The conversation around masculinity is often polarized, further complicating men's efforts to find a balanced and authentic sense of self. In navigating this new terrain, men seek communities and resources that affirm their worth beyond conventional measures of success. The redefinition of masculinity has implications beyond the individual, affecting societal structures and institutions. Education systems, workplaces, and even the media are grappling with how to foster and reflect the changing norms of our society. There is an increasing demand for mentorship programs and educational curricula that reinforce the value of emotional intelligence, emotional literacy, and relational skills for boys and men. Companies are beginning to recognize the benefits of a diverse workforce that values traits traditionally categorized as feminine, such as collaboration and nurturing, alongside those usually seen as masculine, such as assertiveness and competitiveness. In popular culture, there is a push to depict men in various roles that challenge the old paradigms, promoting a more holistic and a word that we often fear from, or a word that we often try to exclude, inclusive representation of what it means to be a man. The digital age further compounds these cultural shifts with the seemingly omnipresence of social media, where the curated portrayals of success and happiness can skew perceptions of what it means to be a successful man. Men are constantly bombarded with images and narratives that either idealize rugged, self-sufficient masculinity or promote a hyper-emotive, boundaryless openness. Finding a middle ground amidst these extreme representations becomes a significant challenge. The pressure to conform to these diverse ideals can stifle genuine self-expression and hinder men from developing a balanced, biblically aligned sense of masculinity. This environment of mixed signals and conflicting messages makes it imperative for men to seek a foundation that is both stable and adaptable, a foundation uniquely provided through biblical principles. The intersection of digital culture with the evolving understanding of masculinity presents a unique set of challenges. On one hand, it offers unparalleled access to many voices and perspectives that can broaden a man's view and knowledge of himself. On the other hand, it can also lead to an overwhelming influx of contradictory messages. Men are exposed to a barrage of ideals through social media platforms, each hosting a different set of expectations, from the stoic and unyielding entrepreneur to the emotionally expressive and community-oriented individual. These constant bombardment can create confusion as men strive to discern which ideals align with their beliefs and their values. Amid all of this, the Christian faith offers enduring principles that can guide men towards a sense of purpose and identity that is not at the mercy of ever-shifting cultural trends. The scriptures speak of masculinity that honors strength and courage while advocating love, kindness, and humility. This balanced approach encourages men to embrace a robust form of manhood capable of leadership, service, assertiveness, and gentleness. By grounding their identity in biblical teachings, men can navigate the pressures of the digital age with wisdom and discernment, cultivating an authentic self that reflects our deepest convictions. The role of community in shaping a man's identity becomes ever more critical. In a Christian context, the church and faith-based organizations can provide a supportive environment for men to explore and express their masculinity without fear of ridicule or misunderstanding. Here, mentorship and fellowship can thrive, offering men the relational tools to build authentic friendships and mentorships that reinforce their faith and their understanding of manhood. These relationships serve as a mirror, reflecting the multifaceted nature of biblical masculinity and offering encouragement and accountability in personal growth. Ultimately, my brothers, pursuing a biblically informed masculinity is not just about personal fulfillment, but it's about contributing to the well-being of society at large. It encourages us to step into roles that may have once felt foreign or even uncomfortable, such as nurturing fathers, compassionate leaders, or even empathetic friends. By doing so, we break down harmful stereotypes and pave the way for future generations to express a more rounded and healthy masculinity. In this way, the biblical model provides stability and clarity for individual men who and this serves as a leaven that can transform communities and cultures. These types of cultural complexities call for a re-examination of biblical masculinity, not as a set of rigid one-size-fits-all rules, but as a dynamic and evolving journey informed by core biblical virtues. Engaging with scripture and the examples of biblical manhood provides us with the anchor we need in a sea of changing expectations and helps us navigate the challenges of modern society with grace as well as conviction. By rooting our identity in the timeless teachings of the Bible, we find the guidance necessary to develop a version of masculinity that upholds strength and gentility, leadership and empathy in a world that desperately needs both. In seeking to redefine masculinity through a biblical lens, there is a call to embrace virtues that transcend cultural shifts and trends. The Bible introduces us to men who demonstrate that strength does not negate tenderness, neither does leadership preclude servanthood. Biblical masculinity invites holistic character development, where these and other seemingly conflicting traits are not mutually exclusive, but interwoven to form a resilient yet responsive male identity. The relevance of these virtues is particularly significant in contemporary contexts, where the pressures and expectations on men are diverse and often contradictory. The principles taught in scripture, like integrity, justice, love, and humility, serve as a compass for us to measure our actions and decisions. This guidance is crucial when faced with decisions that impact personal connections, career paths, and social responsibilities. In a world that often equates masculinity with power and dominance, biblical narratives and stories and with things we learn from the men of the Bible offer a counter narrative that values the power of service, the strength in forgiveness, and the courage to pursue peace. The communal aspect of Christian living provides a space for us to engage with these concepts in a tangible way. Churches and faith groups can foster discussions, workshops, and small groups focusing on applying biblical principles in daily life. This community-oriented approach encourages accountability and support, helping us to use our faith in the complexities of modern living. It promotes a vision of masculinity that is not inward looking, but positively impacts families, communities, and the broader society. Through these networks and shared values, we contribute to a legacy of faithfulness and virtue that will outlive the fleeting images of manhood often celebrated in the public sphere. By engaging deeply with the stories and teachings of the Bible, we forge a path that aligns with our intrinsic worth as creations of God, as men of God, equipped to face the evolving landscape of society with confidence and purpose. This biblically grounded understanding of masculinity has the power to transform not just our lives, but also to bring about societal change that reflects the justice, mercy, and love that are hallmarks of Christian doctrine. As we conclude this episode on the complexities of masculinity in the modern age, we stand on the cusp of rediscovery. The tumultuous sea of cultural expectations may seem daunting, but it is manageable. I'm reminded of a quote that I read years ago. And the quote said something like, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. The quote emphasizes that in the complexities and challenges of the sea, a sailor grows in strength, wisdom, skill, and an understanding that enhances and increases his skill. As we learn and grow from the tumultuous sea, we are better able to navigate the challenges the modern age presents to us on a daily basis. Hope is our compass, and scripture is our chart. In the stories of Abraham's faith, Moses' leadership, Daniel's integrity, and Paul's transformative zeal, we find the beacons that will guide us through. These figures, among many others that we'll talk about, provide us with ideals to aspire to and concrete examples of how to live out our masculinity in alignment with God's design. With this anticipation of rediscovery, we transition to our next exploration, rediscovering masculinity through scripture. Here, we will dive into the lives of these and other biblical figures who, through their journeys, struggles, and victories, cast a vision for what it means to be a man after God's heart. We will examine how these men face their cultural challenges and expectations and how they can inspire us to do the same with courage and faith. We will investigate their stories and lives, not as distant tales from a bygone era, but as relevant, vibrant models that speak to our current experiences. We will together unearth the timeless principles that serve as the bedrock for a renewed understanding of manhood, one that resonates with both the divine and the daily. So let us move forward with the assurance that we are not alone in this journey. The path has been trodden before us, marked by the footsteps of those who navigated their times of change with faithfulness and fortitude. Together, we will seek to embrace a masculinity that is as sturdy as it is supple and as principled as it is progressive. I am your host, Pastor Benjamin Wilson, and as we look to next week's episode, let us carry with us the strength of resilience and the patience for progress. Through the next time, be savage, be gentle, be extraordinary.